Okay. What is going on, everyone? A little bit of a weird time. As you can see, I'm not in my normal location. Let me tweet this out really quickly to make sure that people even know that this is going on, because normally we're at like 9 or 10 o'clock. I have no idea how this is going to go. Let me pull up the link. Heard it all clearly. Okay. Hey, everyone. Hey, Kevin. How you doing? Looks like we're starting to get some people in here. So for those of you that are here, I'm only going to go for 30 minutes today. As you can see, I'm not home. I'm in a hotel room. So depending on how many people show up, we may cut it even earlier than that. But have a wedding tonight that I need to get to. So this time may be awful. It was the only time I could possibly do it today. So yeah, let's get going. So the way this works, for those of you that don't know, we're going to just go through and answer some questions, so post the questions in the chat if you got them, and I'll be sure to answer them. Like I said, this time may be horrible and we end in 5 minutes. That's fine. But let's see if we can get a little bit of talk going. I'm gonna talk a little bit about strategy too, for those of you that listen back here in a couple of minutes if we don't get a lot of interaction. So first question: rare for wide receiver week on FanDuel this week. Beyond Henderson and Swift, you don't like a lot of options. You could definitely go down that path. I don't love it. I mean, some guys that I like, Eli Mitchell. I like Eli Mitchell quite a bit at what is he, 5.8, something like that. Hold on. Yeah, Eli Mitchell on FanDuel I think is a really good player. I think let's see, who else do I have on my list? I like Jonathan Taylor quite a bit in GPPs if you can get up to him. Swift is fine. Don't love him. I think he's okay. Chuba Hubbard is someone that that I think is in a really good spot against Atlanta. He really disappointed last week, but he should be able to bounce back nicely. And then just going down the list a little bit more, there's nothing below 6K. I mean, you have Javonte Williams, Kenneth Gainwell, and Eli Mitchell at 5.9, and there's nothing below that. So there's like 6 running backs that I like this week, and that's kind of sad. Eli Mitchell worth the price? Yeah, I think he is. I mean, he's cheap, right? So, yeah, Derek, I'll have a tux on later tonight. We had a bit of a snafu that my wife is actually going out and shopping for some tuxedo pants at the moment. But so a little bit of poor planning on my part, prioritizing football. So she's not all that happy with me, but that's all right. But getting back to Elijah Mitchell, yeah, I think he is. I mean, he's gone for over 100 yards in 3 of his 5 games this year. In a okay matchup, I mean, not the best matchup. If it was a better matchup, he would be a must play. But he's certainly someone you could look at this week. Why? I'm assuming this means why isn't Mixon being talked about? Because he really isn't being talked about all that much. I think it comes down to the price. So if I look at FanDuel, just because I have it up, he's 7.6K, $100 cheaper than Darrell Henderson, $300 cheaper than DeAndre Swift. I would rather have both of those guys. The Jets defense is bad. There's no questioning that. So Mixon for me is more of a GPP play than he is as a cash game play. simply because there's so many options in this Bengals offense. Mixon doesn't catch a ton of passes. He's okay there. Looking at DraftKings, where is Mixon? Mixon 6.9. It just comes down to price. I mean, 200 more, you can get DeAndre Swift, who's going to catch 5 or 6 passes. Jonathan Taylor has been on an absolute tear. So if you wanted to go with like 2 of those guys and put Mixon in, I'm fine with it. He's good. He's kind of in like the Nick Chubb range though, right? Where he's like, I don't love the volume. So like 10 carries. I know he was banged up. 18 carries against the Lions, great. But then he only had 12 last week in a game that they should have been utilizing him a lot more. So, I think there's more higher floor backs for sure. Oh, God. Do we really have to talk about Dan Arnold? He's the talk of the town. And I spent 2 hours looking at Dan Arnold after the power grid. For those of you that watched, I still can't figure it out. I mean, I know the price is good. I know that like he's an acquisition. So like there's some extrapolation that if he continues to get more and more looks that like maybe, but 500 more, you can get Ricky Seals-Jones, who's going to go for like nothing sexy, but 5 for 45 and a 50% chance at a touchdown. Jared Cook has upside that's 70 or 80 yards, potential touchdown. Dan Arnold has 2 catches in 2 of his 3 games this year. So, yeah. I don't know. You could do it. You don't have to, though. You don't have to. I mean, this week there are a ton of cheap tight ends. So if I just go down the tight end board on FanDuel, let's just start with Noah Fant at 58 because he's leading the NFL in red zone targets. There should be some correction there as far as actually getting into the end zone. Hunter Henry has been really good as of late, facing his former team at 55. I talked about Seals-Jones. A lot of people like Tyler Higbee this week. I'm not one of them, but I get it. The Rams are going to be able to score however they want, and Higbee's a nice pivot off of Cooper Kupp if you're not playing Kupp in a GPP, because if he scores a touchdown, that's one less touchdown that Kupp doesn't score. Jared Cook is a good play, like I talked about. Frelermuth, it could be. Hold on, someone's at the door. Can you just leave it there? Thank you. All right. This is an absolute disaster. Sorry, I'm on a call right now. Here, this is for you. Do I have to sign anything? Okay, that was I apologize to everyone there. What was I talking about? Frelermuth, Arnold. Yeah, there's just a number of good tight ends. No, it's housekeeping, Derek, or room service. Any stacks beyond Buffalo and the Rams? You could look at New Orleans. You could look at the Saints. I like that stack quite a bit. You could look at the Titans and the Colts. You could do like AJ Brown, Michael Pittman, or you could go Derrick Henry, Michael Pittman, something like that. Gronk, Uzama, or Schultz, standard scoring. Give me Gronk. Yeah, he's the best player of the three. Dalton Schultz has been good though, right? Yeah, let's let Gronk get 1 week back before we go there. Let's go Dalton Schultz. Okay. So I just want to keep asking the questions. Like I said, I'm only going to go for like 15, 20 minutes more, just because it's a weird week. I think it's the only week that should be like this. So apologies to everyone that's loyal to whenever I go live. So we'll just talk quickly. Quarterback. It's hard not to love Josh Allen. He's sort of playing at that MVP type level again, and he's facing a Miami defense that has not been great. So, Josh Allen at the top of my board. I think he should be at pretty much everyone's top of their board. Going down the list, you could go with a couple different options. You could go as a contrarian GPP play. How do you not love Tom Brady? Especially on DraftKings where you get that 300-yard bonus. 300 yards and 3 touchdowns is certainly not out of the realm of possibilities there. I'm starting to like Matt Ryan and Kyle Pitts a little bit. I think Pitts is somebody that if he continues to do what he's doing, it's a small sample size, right? But if he continues to do what he's doing, then you could have a breakout player at a very low price. We just talked about Jared Cook, Dan Arnold, Pat Frelermuth, like these guys that are just you're hoping catch 3 passes for 30 yards and a touchdown, where Pitts has legitimate 7, 8, 9 catch potential. So you could get a big victory lap over your competitors if you go with Pitts this week. I can't justify affording him on FanDuel just because I want Cooper Kupp there and his touchdown upside. But in a GPP, I think Kyle Pitts is a wonderful, wonderful play. From a pay down perspective at the quarterback, I know it's not popular. I get it. But I sort of like Trevor Lawrence this week against Seattle. Seattle's allowing about 305 yards passing per game this year. Lawrence over his last 2, I know it was against Miami and the Jets, I think. But he tore both those teams apart. So, the Titans and the Dolphins, which we saw what Mahomes did against the Titans. He struggled and killed me. But 273-1 for Lawrence and then 319-1 against the Dolphins. So you could do worse at that price if you're looking to spend down. What else do we got? No, I'm not going to answer that, Derek. We just talked about that. I don't know who you have to go down to. So if I look at, I don't remember if this was DraftKings or FanDuel. FanDuel in the Judy Cooks range, I would look at sub 6K is a disaster on FanDuel this week for wide receivers. The only wide receiver that I like under 6K is Jacoby Myers. I'm going to keep playing this guy until he scores a touchdown, which is probably going to bankrupt me. But I would sort of question why that's the only choice you have. Can you go down a defense? Can you spend elsewhere? I'm playing Washington defense right now, which, not the best, but Teddy Bridgewater has thrown 5 interceptions. He's been sacked, I think, 9 times over the last 3 games. So there's a clear change in his play since the beginning of this year, where he was a very, very good quarterback. Throwing 5 picks in 3 games, not great. Getting sacked 9 times in 3 games, not great. Going up against a Washington front 4 that can get pressure on the quarterback, also not great. So I think Washington has a pretty good week this week. So I would look there if you haven't, but there's not a, I would just keep Swift if that's the choice. I mean, I don't like Brandon Cooks in cash. I know a lot of people do, but with Davis Mills still being the quarterback, I can't trust Brandon Cooks, and Jerry Judy's coming back from IR. Like I'm not doing that. So pick 2, Henderson. I mean Henry. It's a pick 1. Let's be honest here, David. Henry's definitely in there every single week. Don't even think about it. And then Henderson would be the other guy for me. Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry in a GPP. Derrick Henry is a really, really good GPP play this week. He's very low rostered. I mean, we're talking 10 to 12%. Something like that is where he's going to end up. And he's had monster games against Indy before. So this is prime for a potential 153 touchdown game, just like any week is for Derrick Henry, to be honest. But, it's hard to justify when Cooper Kupp is on pace to break every single record. So a lot of people are going to Kupp. A lot of people are just spending more balance this week, going with the Taylors, going with Henderson, going with these other guys. And if you can pivot to Henry, I think you're in a really good spot this week. Let's see. So that's all the questions we have at the moment. So I'll go for like another 5 minutes, and then I'll jump out of here if we don't have a lot. I know it's a weird time for everybody, middle of the day on a Saturday. Philly or Denver D? Go with Denver. Yeah, go with Denver. Vic Fangio still is a defensive coach, even if he's not a great one. But Taylor Heineke really is inconsistent. So Philly facing, I don't ever like to take Phillies deep, but Philly facing Detroit. Detroit's been okay. They're 0-7, but they looked decent against the Rams last week. So I'd take Denver. Pittman or T. Higgins? Give me Pittman. I think he's in a really good spot going up against Tennessee. T.Y. Hilton is out, and we saw earlier this year what he was doing prior to being out. So T. Higgins still has to compete. We talked about it a little earlier, but he has to compete with Joe Mixon. He has to compete with Jamar Chase. He has to compete whatever Tyler Boyd is doing. But they could game script this out of it very quickly. So I love T. Higgins, but as a player and as a development type, continuing to develop into a really good receiver. But this week it's Pittman for me. Who should I start this week? Smith or Sanders? Give me Smith and give me Gainwell. Yeah, Devontae Smith. Since what's interesting, and I can talk about that real quick, but Dallas Goedert has been the talk of the town since Zach Ertz left, and those targets so far have not gone to Goedert. They've gone to Devontae Smith. Goedert has not had more than 5 targets in a game, which maybe it's coming. It probably is. But what if it just all goes to Smith? I don't know. I think that there's some speculation that eventually they traded away Ertz, who had more targets than Goedert, that Goedert would slide into that role, but so far he just hasn't. Bridgewater or Darnold? Give me Bridgewater. He's thrown for over 300 yards a couple times this year. Darnold just looks atrocious at the moment. I mean, he's looking like New York Jets. New York Jets, Sam Darnold. Any love for Daniel Jones? On the main slate? No. Yeah, it's what, on Sunday or Monday night? Yeah, I think it's fine. Against Kansas City, I think it's fine. Has it only been 1 week? Feels like forever. They have a bye last week. They must have had a bye last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But even then, I mean, he didn't look great, and they had over. Seems so much longer than a week. Good Lord. Do I think the Falcons defense will be good this week? No. Are they ever good? Are they ever good? Cordero Patterson or Michael Pittman? Ooh. I love Michael Pittman this week, but you got to go Cordero, right? The way that he's touching the ball just in every facet of the game is second to none, and this Panthers defense is just falling apart. So, yeah, it's Cordero by a pretty wide margin, actually. So other things that I like this week, I talked in pretty depth. I can't even talk right now. I talked at length about quarterbacks. I talked at length about tight ends, running backs. We talked about Derrick Henry. We talked a little bit about Jonathan Taylor. I think he's in a really good spot this week too. He's been on an absolute tear. Other guys that I do like, I think Alvin Kamara is a great GPP play, especially on DraftKings. People are going to look at that matchup and just write it off because Tampa has been so good. But Kamara has scored a touchdown or more in, I think, 4 of his last 5 games against Tampa Bay. And he caught 10 passes last week. So even though he wasn't involved at all in the running game, he had like 20 or 30 or 50 yards on 20 carries. He was heavily involved in the passing game, which I anticipate that it'll be the same this week. They have no one else in that offense. So I think he's a really good play. Gainwell or Singletary or Hines. I would rank them in that order. Yeah, rank them in that order. I can't trust Nyheim Hines because he's so game script dependent. If you look at the games in which they're down by, I think it's 10 points or more, he's been like a RB1. But he's not playable in the games that are close. And I anticipate that this game will be close this week. Is James Robinson getting chalky? A little bit. Let me see where I have him in terms of ownership. I have James Robinson right now in my model at, wow. Yeah, DraftKings, he's getting really chalky. So I don't think he's going to get that chalky on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, he's getting up there. He's about 20%. You're running Allen, Henderson, Hubbard, Diggs, Pittman, Godwin, Pitts, Mitchell, Detroit defense, FanDuel. Yeah, it's fine. I like it. No Cooper Kupp, but that you know what you're in for there, right? I mean, Cooper Kupp is going to be 40 to 50% rostered in cash games this week. Probably close to 25 to 30% in GPPs. So if you're not playing him, you should be intentionally not playing him. It's a choice, right? It's a choice that we all have to make this week. I'm playing him in cash. I'm not playing him in GPPs simply because as much as his touchdown rate just isn't sustainable. He has 12 catches in the red zone and 8 touchdowns, right? Eight touchdowns on 15 targets. Compare that to a guy like Stephon Diggs, who I love this week, and he's in your lineup, which is great. Diggs has 12 targets and only 1 touchdown. So if I look at just they both could be outliers, right? There's outliers all across the league, but if I just look at statistical outliers, it's Kupp's numbers should come down, and Diggs's touchdowns should go up. But over a 17 week schedule, it doesn't always materialize. So And the role, you can't always apply statistics to it, but there should be. Diggs will catch more than 8% of his targets in the red zone for touchdowns. We'll just put it that way. Hopkins and Gainwell for Jefferson and Jacobs is a good trade. Hopkins. I would do it. I don't know if it impacts your league, but I would make sure that you get to play the Sunday guys if you trade Hopkins away. So make sure the trade goes through Monday. Is it an okay trade? Yeah, I think it's fine. I like the Jefferson side more. Gainwell scares me because if he struggles as the lead guy, could Boston Scott be in there? I'm not sure, but I would prefer the Jefferson Jacob side. Derek, what whiteboard? That's like a picture behind me, if that's what you're referring to. Favorite pizza toppings: pepperoni, onion, green pepper. Curious how ownership projection is accurate when money can adjust any projection. I don't understand the question, Brandon. I don't understand the question. Yeah, happy to walk you through the process on how ownership projections come about, but I don't fully understand the question. Yeah, I think starting Cincinnati's defense, if you can afford them, is a really smart move. I just can't afford it. Just can't afford it. So I am not the guy for dynasty. Jordan McNamara on Twitter. Analytics of Dynasty, I think it is. Let me find his Twitter account for you. Analytics. Yeah, McNamara Dynasty can answer your question. He'll help you there. Yeah, I would ask him. Honestly, I don't play Dynasty. I wish I did. I just don't have time for it. Godwin or Diggs? Diggs. I love both, though. I don't understand the question. So are you saying like a couple people will be heavy on him, so he'll be higher? I don't fully understand, to be honest. What ownership projections are trying to do is they're trying to predict how many lineups that people are going to be in. So using it's a little bit of math, a little bit of art as far as the most talked about players. But you look at some of the biggest sites, Footballguys included. Roto Grinders is another one that we'd certainly partner with, and there's other ones out there, but I'm not gonna shout them out. That drive a lot of the ownership projections. So the players that have the best value combined with the players that are the most talked about, combined with just some players, Tom Brady included, are just like about the same percentage every single week, regardless of price. So the intent there is that we're trying to predict how these top end players that are going to drop 50K are actually going to put in their lineups. Jordan or Chad? Derek, I don't understand. I don't understand the question. I know you're trying to have fun, so I don't understand the question. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this one short. I know we only went for about 30 minutes, but we will be back normal time next week. Thank you guys. I know that it's a weird time, middle of the day on a Saturday, but we will be back next week and at normal time, so 10 o'clock Eastern PM on a Saturday. So look forward to it, and I will see everyone next week.